I'll start recording now.
We can't hear you.
Sorry. Okay, so the one last thing I'll show you in ilovepdf.com is this over here, which is organized PDF, right? So for those of you who are looking to take a PDF and kind of change it around, select the PDF. I'll take a longer one. What's a long one? Well, I'll just take this. Right, so here you have a 3-page PDF that you can, again, kind of maneuver around. You can write from here if you so choose. So this, you may want to play with this. This may be a simpler way to extract files rather than the split scenario, because if you want, you can click on this middle page after you move things around and simply delete it from here, and then click organize, and then download the file. So that's just another way. If you want to just extract something from one of your PDFs, you can go to that organize, kind of move things around, or leave it the same and just take one page out and then resave it as a new PDF. Same idea as the split PDF. So you can choose to use either. Questions, comments, concerns, issues? I want to give you one more tip before I depart. Let me stop sharing my screen. One other tip that I would encourage, if you don't have a scanner at home, because this is all great if you have your documents PDF'd already, right? And again, Dan's going to talk about working inside of DocuSign so that they're already PDFs. If you're going to somebody's house though and doing hand signing, right, which some of us are still doing, you don't have them as PDFs. And so now you go back home and you scratch your head and say, okay, well, I don't have a scanner at home. So now those concierge services, now that opportunity doesn't quite exist for me. Guys, for most of you, you have a scanner on your phone. And if you don't know how to scan on your phone, and I am going to show you how to do this, I'm going to mark my calendar and celebrate this day for the rest of my entire life, that I can actually show somebody how to do something on an iPhone. If you already know how to do this, just humor me. Say you didn't know, please. So you can go, now what I didn't know how to do was connect my phone to the screen so you could see it well. But if you just go to notes, right there, go to the notes section. At the bottom of your notes section, you should have a little box that if you press it, you get, no, you can't see it at all. You'll have to trust me, because they're very light. They're like little light yellow things on my phone. You go and there's a little camera that pops up in your notes section. If you go from notes and click the little box on the bottom, a little camera will pop up. And when you hit the camera, it says choose or take a photo or scan documents. And if you click on scan documents, oh, we got people waiting, hold on. If you click on scan documents, what you can then do is take a picture of a piece of paper. Now, if you have multiples, yes, this is a little time consuming because you have to do each page. But what's cool about it is you just take the picture as best you can, and the camera knows that you're scanning. So it will set it up more like a scan. And then once it's done, you can adjust the edges, right? So you don't have to get it perfect. It knows it's scanning. It'll take a picture of the document, and then you can adjust the edges to make sure it looks just like a scan. And guys, well, again, you can't really see it all that well, but there's the scanned document right in my phone. I don't have to worry about black space around it. It's sitting on my computer keyboard. You don't see any of the computer keyboard because it knows where the edges of the paper are. and it saves it as a PDF on your phone. And then you can just kind of text or email those to yourself, or open I Love PDF on your phone and stitch them all together right on your phone. It is a brave new freaking world. Woohoo! I like that.
You're
Isn't
such
that
a
fun?
dork. I love how much you love technology.
I just love that I actually know how to do that. I forget why I know how to do that, but I actually, I want you to be impressed, Dan Raposo.
Rick,
Yes.
I am.
what's the difference in doing that and just taking a picture?
So taking a picture will give you a JPEG, right? When you use the scanning function, it actually creates a PDF out of the scan.
Okay,
The other thing is when you take a picture, it's going to take a picture based on everything that your lens sees. So the background, your countertop, whatever. When you use the scanning function, it knows the edges of the paper and it cuts all of that out and makes it as if you literally scanned it from a scanner in the office
okay.
or an actual scanner at your house.
All right, thank you, Rick.
You're welcome. So those are my, Doreen, did you have a question?
Oops. Yeah, Rick, I did.
Yes.
On my notes, it has a trash can, it has a send function, and it has a compose function. There's no camera that comes up when I hit it.
Yeah, unfortunately, without seeing your phone, it's tough for me to tell you. But what I would do is I would play around with it and/or Google scan function on the iPhone, whatever you have, and Google may be able to tell you exactly where to find that. And if
You have to create a new note. So you have to hit the little icon at the bottom right first.
Oh, the compose note.
Yep, compose note. And then you hit the camera. You see the camera kind of pop in the middle of the screen at the top of the keyboard. There's a little camera icon.
Not on my phone.
yeah, so again, we all have different phones. We all have different
Yeah, I
versions
have
of
like
the
an
phone.
iPhone 10. I think.
Right. So what I would do is I would just Google how to scan on iPhone 10, and I'm certain that there's either a tutorial video and/or a document that will step you through that, because it may just be different on your phone than mine or Dan's phone. But for all intents and purposes, I think this is an iPhone. I don't know, what do I have? An 8 maybe?
I have
or
no idea.
something. Well, no, I'm kind of
Ask
asking.
Mr. Apple.
Right. But if it can happen on my phone, I'm sure my phone is older than most of your phones, so I'm certain it can happen on yours as well.
Okay, thank you.
And then the other thing that I don't know too much about, I think Jennifer put it in the chat, is Genius Scan, right? So that's just an app that you get on your phone. A lot of people use and love that as well. It may be simpler. Jennifer, is it simpler than what I just showed?
I think so. Yeah, also very intuitive. And then what I do is I export it to another app called Fourscore where I can mark it up and stuff. So, but yeah, I like Genius Scan. It's free, very user friendly.
And it scans things to PDF.
Correct.
Excellent. Yeah, so there's two opportunities for you guys. Either use Genius Scan, which is an app that you can get at the App Store. Is it free, Jennifer? Do you know?
Yes, it is.
Awesome, even better. Right, so Genius Scan or utilizing your notes section in your phone, and that way you can actually convert to PDF without having to travel, buy a scanner, or go to the office if you so choose, and then utilize I Love PDF to just kind of merge them into a single PDF, which can then be submitted to our concierge services. So that was where I was. That was what I was supposed to show you today. Karen, go ahead. Question.
What is it? Genius Scan or Genius Scanner? What's it called?
Genius Scan.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right in the
PDF
chat as well.
scanner, I see it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so with that, I am going to turn it over to Dan, who's going to spend the rest of the time with you in the DocuSign version. Jonathan, did you have something for me?
Yeah, just real quick. You can scan using Microsoft OneDrive. It's built right into it, doing the same thing you're describing with your phone, as well as Google Drive. So whatever your cloud storage systems are, they have it built in already. You just hit the plus button, select the file type, and then it does the same thing.
Cool beans. Well, so now you've got 3 different versions, right? So here's the good news. With all these different versions of scanning, there's no excuse not to be able to utilize concierge services because you're stuck converting to PDF. And with I Love PDF, just go and play with that for 20 minutes tonight. You can do just anything you can possibly want to do with a PDF on that website for free. So that's it for me. Thanks for your attention. I will see you guys soon. 4 o'clock for Ignite for those of you who are joining us, or tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock on our Zoom. Dan, take it away.
All right. So that was longer than the 3 minutes Rick promised me earlier, but all good. I'm going to kind of try to move a little quickly here because I want to show you a couple things in DocuSign that you can use to kind of just simplify the process. So the first thing I'm going to do that I'm dropping into the chat right now is our required documents list. I'm doing that because this is kind of like, this is an easy way to kind of create a starting point for everybody. You know, for a lot of the feedback that I've been getting from people lately is, oh, I'm not used to getting that disclosure. I'm not used to getting that form or whatever at this point. And so it's like, it means having to go back and get it signed or whatever. So the reason I start with the required documents list is because that's kind of your new checklist, right? So when you're going on a listing appointment, or when you're going on a listing appointment, right? The first thing that you can do is kind of look at that required documents list and know, okay, I need to make sure to get, my listing agreement, my agency disclosure, the MLS data input sheets, the property disclosure, all right? If necessary, the lead paint disclosure, the inclusion exclusion form, and then let me print out the field card. And then what you're also going to need for that MLS input sheet is the property taxes, right? The property taxes for the property. So let me pull all of those, okay? So I have all of that information prior to actually even going on my my listing appointment, so I can get everything kind of done in one shot. Now that's if you are obviously getting, wet ink signatures on actual pieces of paper. However, if you're doing everything through DocuSign, it's also just a quick checklist. Make sure I have all of the documents that I'm going to need, so I don't have to go back to the seller to get additional documents, or so that I'm not getting stuff sent back to me by the concierge services. Everybody good on that front? Does that make sense? It's just kind of a simple system to use to make sure that we're not missing things or getting things sent back to us. Can I get some thumbs ups or downs? Not sures. Okay, cool. All right, so the next piece to this is then that I wanted to kind of discuss is actually using DocuSign. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Now, when we taught DocuSign originally, like starting, a year and change ago, as we were making the transition from .loop to DocuSign, as well as moving compliance from green sheets to the commissions tab in Command. For those of you who are newer to KW and don't remember any of the systems that I just mentioned, don't worry, you're not missing out on anything. But I'm just trying to give you that for a little background. Because as we were teaching this, what we were teaching is that you should always start in Command, create your contact, create your opportunity, and then create your connection with DocuSign, right? So that it pulls that information in. However, now with concierge services, you don't have to worry about that second step. You still need to have your contact in Command. But the contact is most likely already in Command, right? What you don't have to do now is create that opportunity, put in all of that information into Command. So what you can do now is just go straight into DocuSign. So when you do that, if you just go to DocuSign.com and then log in, as I'm showing you here, what you're going to get sent to, and this always works a little slower while I'm on Zoom. What you're going to get sent to is the main DocuSign e-signatures account, the main dashboard. Or not. Okay, so this is not what is typically going to come up for you if you just go to DocuSign.com. What is typically going to come up for you is going to look like this, which is the e-signature version. All right. And this is just kind of the e-signature. So what you need to do is if you want to go to your DocuSign rooms to get access to all of the office documents and things like that, you're going to click your profile in the upper right and you're going to go to switch to rooms.
Okay.
Hmm.
can I
That's
say
good.
something? I
That's
have
going to
never-
bring you, hold on 1 second. Sorry. If you all have questions, please just unmute yourself or raise your hand and then I'll be able to see that you have a question. And then we can kind of go from there. Okay. Karen, yes.
Okay, so I have never gotten to the point where you just went to with the signature. It's been very frustrating to me and I'm new at this. So I have come to this room with a name and stuff and
To this website right here.
yeah, and so then I can somehow pull up the document, I can fill it out, and that's as far as I can get. And
Okay,
so
well,
what
I'm
I've
gonna-
done, I've just emailed it and they scan it back to me. But that's
Okay,
not-
well, I'm gonna walk you through what that process looks like today. So hopefully this will help. Okay, Karen?
Okay.
All right. So once we're in here, all we have to do now, I'm going to show you a couple different kind of shortcuts that you can use. So the first is going into DocuSign rooms, which we get to by just clicking the rooms there. And if this is a new client and a new documents that we need to get signed, we're going to click on new. All right, we're going to title this. I'm going to name this one after you, Karen. Okay. We're going to call this the Karen test, and we're going to make this a list side transaction. That's all we have to do is select those two things and hit save. Right. Now, the simplest way the biggest complaint that we get from people is that it just takes a long time to like fill out all of the information. Right. And here's the thing is most of the information can be filled in for you by DocuSign. You'll notice that after I created that room, the first place it brought me was to this details tab. And that's how we're going to, that's how we're going to enter all of our information so that we don't have to do it on every single form. All right, so I'm going to make Karen our seller here. I have no idea what your email is. It doesn't really matter because I'm not going to send anything to you, but I'm just going to fill in this information as if she as if she was an actual client. All right. This is the property address that I'm going to be putting in over here. So as you can see, I had seller 1. I filled in Karen's name, her cell phone, and her email. All right. I can also put in her address here. Let's make it Ridgefield. All right. Country is the United States. State is Connecticut. All right. Now she's also selling the property that I'm going to be selling for her is the same property. So again, Ridgefield, Connecticut, 06877. I'm just going to fill in the basic information here. All right. If you have this information, so I'm going to say that the listing date is going to be today. The list price, let's say, is 700,000. I think I put the right amount in there. I'm going to put in a listing expiration date of the end of the year. All right. I'm not going to check I accidentally did that one. All right. So now I have the property information and the listing information. I have seller 1. Let's say there's no seller 2. Now listing agent 1. I'm going to put in my own information here. All right. All right. There's no second listing agent. There's no buyers to deal with. No buyer's agent yet to deal with. All right. And that's it. There's no offer details to put in. There's no high bid. There's no closing details to put in. There's no other additional information or property details that I'm going to put in here yet. All right. So that's it. That's everything that I've done. Right. And all I'm going to do is click save at the bottom here. So now that I've completed all the room details, I'm going to click on the documents tab. This is where I'm going to get access to all of our office documents. And I'm going to do that by going to the add button where I'm going to add documents, go to the DocuSign forms button. And then here's the shortcut. We get to select our forms. We have all these groups here on the left-hand side. All right. Now for Stanford agents, you have landlord docs, listing docs, tenant docs, and buyer docs. For our Ridgefield Market Center agents, we have still not consolidated these yet. I am working with our MCAs in both market centers to make sure that these things say the same thing, but getting DocuSign to change those things is difficult. So there is a little bit different. So in Stanford, you're going to see buyer docs, landlord docs, listing docs, and tenant docs. In Ridgefield, you're going to see Connecticut commercial, all docs, Connecticut buyer, Connecticut landlord, Connecticut seller, and Connecticut tenant. All right. The reason for that is because we have a lot of agents who do New York, which is why we named it that way. So this is a Connecticut seller. So I'm going to click on Connecticut seller. And now I'm going to go through here. And again, using my checklist, what do I know I need? I need the agency disclosure. I don't need the lead disclosure because this is a newer home. All right. I need the wire. I also know that once I go to contract, I'm going to need the wiring scam advisory form. So why not just get that signed now, right? I have the exclusive right to sell listing contract. All right. And I need the single family data input sheet. All right, that's it. Now I'm going to hit add selected. It's going to pull these documents up here. All right, now all I have to do is go, now that I have the documents, I'm just going to go in and double check them, see what information, and then add all of my information to make sure that all of the documents are complete. So the seller documents, there's nothing to add. You can see that the property address is the only thing that we need to add, and it's already here. So I can hit save and close. Wiring scam advisory form, it's going to be the exact same thing. The only thing that needs to be added to this form is the property address, and it's already there because I put it into the details page. All right. Now, exclusive right to sell. There's going to be some information that I need to add here. All right. So it already put the owner's information here. I'm going to put Keller Williams Realty into here. All right. I'm going to put in the list price. Now, it didn't pull in the contract information for some reason, which is kind of odd. So I'm just going to add it now. All right. But all the other information it already added. I'm going to come in here and put in my commission, 6%. Thank you, Karen. All right, I'm going to do a 180-day holdover period. I'm going to put the contract date here again. And here's the thing. I know you all know how to fill out these documents. I'm just going through this for the simple reason that I want to show you how long this actually takes. And if I'm going through and actually filling out these documents, you can see that it really doesn't take that long. I'm going to say that this is going to have a go active date of next Wednesday because I always like to list on Wednesdays. All right. I like to list and I like to close on Wednesdays. So we're going to put that information here. All right. Keller Williams Realty. All right. I'm going to put my phone number in here. All right. They already pulled in the property and owner address there. I'm going to put left intentionally blank. Okay, and then I'm gonna hit save and close. Now, after I run you through all of this, I'm actually gonna show you a way that you can template these documents so that you actually don't have to fill out a lot of that information. All of those, every time you pull them in, you can pull in a templated version, which will have a lot of that stuff already filled out for you. All right. What's going on? My computer's doing something weird. Oh. Okay. Single family data. Now, this is one of those forms that we're getting a lot of. I'm getting a lot of kind of questions about. You know, I'm not used to filling this out. You know, it's a lot of stuff to fill out, and I get it. It is a lot of stuff to fill out. But here's the thing, it's a required document by the MLS, but it also happens to be one of those documents that over the years, agents have not filled out properly or just not used, even though they're supposed to, and it's an MLS requirement. All right. So what you end up needing is you need to pull this information either from the, the simplest way, place to pull this information from is from the MLS tax ID records, okay, or from the field card. All right, so if you use the MLS tax search, you can pull up a property in advance. That's why I said before, know what information you're going to need and make sure to get it in advance so that you have it all when you go to fill out the information. I'm just going to again put in random numbers here. Full service, exclusive right to list. Okay. We're going to fill this all out. I'm not going to actually go through and fill all this out. All right. You can see that it automatically pulled my information in here as well as my office information. Okay, it did not pull in the property address. All right, street. All right, pulled in some of the information, but not all. Now, this is one of those documents that because it has so much stuff that like that you could fill out in advance. This is where templates can be really easy, and I'm going to show you how to do that. All right. No, public records. All right, 2005. I don't know. All right, so I'm not going to go through this entire form with all of you. All right, but it's literally just checking boxes, and this is the easiest way of doing it. Unfortunately, there's not any kind of fillable PDF version of this that the MLS offers. The only way to fill the form out on a computer like this is to do it through our version, the version that we have in DocuSign, or to use the MLS's version of essentially DocuSign, which they offer through the MLS, which is called something else. I don't remember what it is, but there's no, or the third option is to print the form and fill it out and check all of these things and write all of these things in by hand, which is an option obviously as well. But if you wanted to do an electronic version of it, this is really your easiest option. All right. I'm going to go through, I'm not going to put all of this information in. I'm just going to save it and close it because you all, again, like I said, know how to fill out this form, right? And I want to make sure that we have some time to get to the other stuff, the shortcuts. Here. All right, so now that we've gotten this filled out, I've gotten a lot of, we have all of our documents filled out. We have our listing agreement, we have our agency disclosure, our MLS input, and we have the wiring scam advisory, right? So now I just need to get these signed. So Karen, this is probably where you're losing things, right? So now that you've gotten all those forms filled out, what we need to do is send them for signature, and we do that through an envelope. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new envelope by clicking new. We're going to select room documents. We're going to select our forms. So we have our 4 documents here, and we're going to select add selected. All right, so now that we've added our forms, what we need to now do is tell DocuSign who we want to send these to. All right, so I'm gonna, when I just did something and I should have said it, right? So when I'm gonna click on add recipient here, but I'm gonna hit the drop down menu, and then I'm gonna select, instead, most people go to room participants or email address. If you go to pre-tagged roles instead, what this allows you to do is it gives you the document lists and all of the roles that are already pre-tagged by DocuSign for each document. And now you can assign the people that you've already added to the room to each of those roles. All right. So for seller on the agency disclosure form, I'm going to select Karen because she's the seller. Authorized agent, I'm going to select myself. Now the wiring scam advisory form, again, I'm going to select seller, and I'm going to select Karen again because she's the seller. All right. There's no seller 2 or buyer 1 or buyer 2 on that, so I'm not going to do anything. Listing agent, I'm going to select, again, myself. All right, now here's the thing, is again, something that I'm gonna be working on. But I'm working on getting our MCAs to make sure that Rick is actually added as an available recipient for all rooms, because he's not currently. So instead of selecting listing broker, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit add selected. And what this does is this now adds all the different people to the room. Now you can see that there's duplicates here. And the reason for that is because DocuSign, again, for whatever reason, we don't have control over it, created different titles for different things when they were tagging different documents. So on some documents, it's seller or buyer one, as opposed to seller one, right? And then authorized agent and listing agent are two different roles in DocuSign's eyes. So what we need to do is we're going to have multiple of those. What this means is that your sellers are going to get 2 emails from DocuSign. They're going to have to finish some of the documents, and then once those documents are complete, they'll get another email with some of those documents. That's okay. You just need to know that when you see it pop, so that you can let your sellers know in case they miss that second email. All right. Now, the last thing that I'm going to do here to kind of just, again, save myself time is I'm going to add Rick manually to this. All right, and I'm going to do that so that I can add his signatures to this as well. And I'm going to make him the last person to sign everything. So he'll only get these once everybody else is signed. And I do that by making him the 4th person in the signature line. All right. Any questions so far on adding people or any of this process so far? I don't want to move too quickly here. If people have questions, feel free to unmute yourself.
Dan.
All right. Yes,
Dan,
Jenna.
I'm sorry. I was having trouble unmuting myself. Why do you have Karen in 2 places, seller 1 and seller or buyer 1?
So this is what I was just saying. So because the agency disclosure form was formatted so that if you're sending it to a seller, they sign on the top line, but if you're also sending it to a buyer, they sign it on the top line. DocuSign labeled that space as seller or buyer 1. And unfortunately, what that means is now you have to have, like, if it was just seller 1, there would just be one. It would just be one place for the seller to sign, and you could just select Karen as the seller 1. But because the documents are labeled differently, you have to have her in there twice. So what this means is that Karen's going to get the agency disclosure form sent to her first to sign. All right, she'll sign that, and then she'll get and then once I sign that, she'll get the rest of the documents to sign. It's a little annoying, but unfortunately, because of the way the document is written, there's no dedicated place for a seller. So it's just a different, the role is tagged differently.
Okay.
So she's in there, so she has to be in there twice.
I have one more question about the order of signing. If I'm sending documents to like 3 different people who need to sign, and they're all part of the same group of people, but they're all in different places, do they really have to be 1, 2, and 3, or can they all be the same number?
No, so normally you are able to send documents that if they're just looking for a signature, yes, you can send them to 3 people at the same time.
Okay.
However, when the documents have to get filled out, for instance, like a property disclosure form, right? Somebody has to fill that out before the other 2 people can sign it.
Right.
So one person has to fill out that form and sign it before it can go to the other 2 people.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got it.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So now that we've gotten all of our roles tagged,
Dan, I have a
we're going
question.
to click. Yes, Dean.
So in doing that, so you have the first document going out first and then the others going out. I've never done it that way. I've always just dragged and labeled.
Yep. And the
What
reason
is
I
the
do that,
advantage? Just tell me what
the advantage is so that there's less work to do once you get to this stage.
Okay, so I'll just watch and
Because
see. Okay,
yeah, so what you'll see is if I hadn't done those pre-tagged roles, I would have the buyers in here, but now I would need to drag in
Drag 'em
every
all.
signature,
Drag it all.
every
Okay.
initial, every date signed, right? Like
Okay.
every single one of these I'd have to drag into place. But because I use pre-tagged roles, all I'm gonna do is sit here and make this look pretty. Because I like to do that. I like my documents to look pretty. But if
Okay.
you don't care about making them look pretty, you wouldn't have to do that, right? You could let the seller
Right.
signature go here. The date signed is automatically put there. So that's just going to save you some time in that sense, right? Again, I like to make my documents look pretty. So
Yeah.
I'm going to
No, I
size
do the
this
same
right.
thing. I just wanted to be clear. So,
Sure.
all right. So you just, I see the difference now. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
All right, so you can see now all of these forms are already filled out. You can see all of the check boxes are already in here for the seller to initial, to check, to sign, right? And all I'm going to do is walk down through these documents to make sure that there's initials where they're supposed to be and dates where they're supposed to be, and signatures where they're supposed to be, right? So let's see, Smart MLS. Input sheet. This is obviously not fully filled out because we didn't fill it all out before. All right, and there's the seller's signature. However, I just noticed there's also no listing agent signature here. So what I need to do is I come up here to Dan Raposo. All right, as the listing agent, I'm going to put authorized signature here. I'm going to drag in the date signed here. All right. But this just saved me having to do all of like dragging all of these the different signatures in, right? Just by using that pre-tagged roles. Does that make sense? All right, Karen.
Yeah, so basically, once you have filled out the form, then you go to envelopes.
Yes.
Save and close, and then go to envelopes.
Yes.
And then the document should be there.
Yeah, no, you have to add the documents from the room.
From the room, add document from the room, once you're in envelope.
Yes, so yeah, so once you've created your envelope, right? So when I come in here to create the envelope, Karen, I'm gonna come back here so I can show it to you one more time, right? So when you come back to envelopes and you create new envelope,
Yeah,
you have to add the room docs.
okay,
And now you're gonna select the documents in the room,
yes,
okay?
yes.
So let's say I needed to make changes to the MLS forms, the input and the exclusive right to represent.
Mhm.
All right, I'm going to come down here to add recipients. Again, I'm going to use pre-tagged roles now. This way, now it's seller one, and you'll see that because these documents have the same, tags for the
Mhm.
roles, the same roles, I'm only going to have Karen added once, right? So there's not that
Okay.
duplicate like we were seeing in the last round.
Yeah.
All right, Jennifer, does that help clarify that as well? So I know you had a question about that before.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so that's just because of the formatting of the documents themselves. All right.
Do they need to start sign in any particular order or no?
No, so the only time the signing order makes a difference is when you have multiple sellers, right, or multiple buyers that are doing these documents, because one of them has to be the filler outer, right? One of them has to be the person that's actually inputting the things that are required that aren't just signatures and initials,
Okay.
right? So like on the property disclosures or the lead disclosures, right, they have to check those boxes, right? For everything. Well, one of them has to do that before the other can sign it. And you can't have them both signing at the same time, or else, one could go through, fill it all out, sign it, and then the other one goes through and changes it and signs it. And now it's got to go back to the first one who is now wondering, wait, I already did this. Why do I have to do it again? Right? So only one of them is going to fill it out and sign it. And then the second one will receive it for signature at that point.
Okay.
So you just want to make sure that whoever is going to be kind of your point person is set up to be the first signer.
Dan, I have a question.
Yes, Jody.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thanks. So now can you go to the next on the data input form? Can you just go to next? Like send as if you're sending?
Yeah.
One of those envelopes had it in there.
Yeah, this one has it in here. They both have it in here.
Okay, so can you click through all these things in DocuSign?
No, because the data input sheet is supposed to be filled out by the agent, not the owners.
Ah,
That's
okay.
why. So again, DocuSign forces us to work the way we're supposed to work, right? It forces whoever's supposed to fill out the forms to fill out the forms. And that's
Okay.
kind of part of the aggravation that a lot of agents have, is because they're used to filling out the property disclosures, or they're used to checking the boxes on the listing agreement for the, let me come down here, right? So where's our listing agreement? Here we
No,
go.
it's
Right.
look, I do.
So a
use-
lot of listing agents will just check these boxes
No, I
for
will-
their client, right? Which they do out of convenience, but is incredibly wrong, right?
No, it's more
Um,
than, I usually do fill out the data input form, but then sometimes I might have a seller who's going through that data input form. And rather than just signing, they might say, hey, I do have hardwood floors in the kitchen. I'd like that checked, right? So
Yep.
it's like, there's nowhere for them to check, or what's the
No.
quickest way? So what's the quickest way for me to go back here?
So there is a way that you can allow people to edit your forms. And you have to do that through templates, which is a bit more, which is kind of like the next thing that I was going to show you anyway. All right. So I'm going to get out of rooms now. We're going to take a break from what I've just been showing you. Okay. DocuSign allows you to create, to take the documents and kind of create your own templated versions of them, meaning fill out some of the stuff in advance. And that's called form templates. So if you go back to the main DocuSign rooms at the top, there's a button that says My Docs. Okay. And now in here, if you click on form templates, what it allows you to do is any of the forms that we already have, you can create a form template for. So as an example, you mentioned the residential data input template, right? So you can create a templated version of this form, which will already have a lot of where you can fill out or check a lot of those boxes one time, save it as a template, and then never have to check those boxes or write any of those things into the form again. And this was one of the little time-saving secrets that was promised to you, right? So now this pulls up the data in the data form. All right. And now you can see, okay, every listing I take is a full service listing. So I'm just going to check that box. Every listing I take or almost every listing I take is an exclusive right to sell, lease, right? Sell or lease. So I'm going to do that. All right. I'm not going to fill this stuff in because this is different for every single property, right? But my buyer agent compensation is almost always 2.5%. And I always put paid at title passing, right? Or whatever language you typically use here. So I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to put my agent and office information in here. Because again, that never changes on these forms for me. All right. Let's say you only work in Fairfield County. You could put Fairfield County in here so that it's always in there. You don't have to put it in every time. Right. I know some agents actually will look up the information and put it in there. I don't take the time to do that when I list properties. Call me lazy. But I also don't list a ton of properties like all of you do, because I refer almost all my business out, and most of the properties I'm doing are my own. So I just put per Board of Ed for the schools. So I'm going to put that in here so that I don't have to fill it out everywhere. I always use the year built source is always from public records. So I check that box, et cetera, et cetera. So you can kind of go in here and check all of the boxes and put in all of the information that is typical, right? Public records for the acres source, right? Obviously the property details you don't want to necessarily put in there. All right. But where my listings go, you can check all those boxes. Display property address on the internet, showing instructions, right? If you're going to use the same showing instructions, or at least the same basics showing instructions, right? Use showing time, confirmed appointments only through showing time. You can put that here, and then you can still add and modify to this and modify this document later on, but at least all of your basics are already going to be filled out, right? So I'm going to use a smart MLS electronic box. Yes, I'm going to always use a sign. All right. Owner, I don't know about all of you. I always just put per record. I almost never put my owner's information in the actual listing. All right. Public remarks, agent remarks, I'm not going to fill out. But now I have a templated version, and I'll never have to fill out any of those things that I just filled out again. Now I'm gonna have to try to find this, Jody, but I just saw this, and I hope I didn't just close it out with, I hope it wasn't that other actions button. Now, if I come in here.
So you're not in a specific, you're not in a specific room right now?
No, I'm not. I'm in the My Docs tab at the top of the page.
Yeah,
right.
I saw that.
And you can do this for every form. Nope, that's not where it is. Maybe it was in rooms. All right, so now I'm gonna kind of go back to this and show you what that would look like. So I'm gonna go back to Karen's test here. I'm gonna come back in here and I'm gonna get rid of one of the documents that I had filled out earlier. All right, so I'm gonna get rid of this one here. And I can do that just by selecting the little circle that pops up when you hover over the thing, and then hit trash, the trash can. All right, so if you haven't seen that before, I'm just gonna hover over the file, select the circle in the upper left-hand corner of the little icon, and then hit the trash button and hit delete. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add the document again. Connected seller. Now, when I click on this, you'll see that there's a little drop-down menu here. And that's where I can select my templated version of it and click add selected. So that now when I come in here and I open this document up, all of that information will already be in there. All right. See, so all of this information that I had put in, oh wait, hold on. Oh yeah, because this also pulled in the information from the details. But now like the 2.5% paid at title passing is in there automatically. My information is in here, the office code. So all of these things are already in there. Plus it pulled in the property ID and the listing date and information from the client details.
So if you wanted to change it to 3%, can you do that in this?
Yeah.
You could just go ahead and change that.
Because you can still modify modify it as you wish. It's gonna, if you're doing things almost the same way every time,
yeah,
it just saves you that extra time from having to do it every single time.
Yeah.
Right. And you know it as much as anybody, right? It's the things that anything you do more than twice, right?
Sure.
You should have a system for. Well, this is just a simple system for saving you time for the things that you have to do more than once, right? And the things that are kind of done on a regular basis. All right.
Yeah, Dan.
Jody, yes, Jennifer.
Yeah, can you just tell me how you got that template there? I know I just now saw it, but
Yep, I'll walk through it again. All right, so again, I'm going to delete this folder because it won't let you add the same document twice. So when you go to add document
first.
Well, no. It's just, you're not going to have it in there. I have to delete it because I want to show you how to do it. And it won't let me select the file a second time. It only lets you add the one document to to the room, right?
Right, so I run into that problem a lot.
So
But if I
here's
just delete the document, then I can add it again. Any
yes,
doc.
but you're not going to necessarily want to do that. So, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a second, okay? So if you want the template, if you want access to the templated versions of your forms, you just have to go to the form in your in the libraries, right? So when I click on this form now, because I have a templated version of it, this drop down menu pops up.
Okay.
And now I can select the templated version of it. Okay, in the drop down menu, you see that?
Yeah, that's
And then
pretty
hit-
cool.
And then hit add selected.
Hey,
So
Dan,
think about all of the forms that you're using on a regular basis that require you to actually put information in other than just the seller signature and initials, right? If all you have to put on a form is the initials or signature or date sign, then use the pre-tagged roles, and then DocuSign will fill all of that in for you. If there's stuff that you have to actually input on a regular basis and it tends to be the same, that's where you can use form templates. Yes, Lisa.
couple of things. One, there are no flex forms in there. So we have to scan them and then upload them, I guess, because there isn't anything provided for Greenwich.
That is correct. We are still waiting on DocuSign to process the Greenwich MLS forms. I believe they just finally got New Haven MLS or the New Haven board forms in. And we're still waiting on Greenwich, Hartford, Darien. I mean, there's a lot of forms that we're still waiting on. And unfortunately, we have no control over that. That's all DocuSign.
Sure.
Because the way it works is we have to send all of those forms to DocuSign. DocuSign then has to get access, has to get the rights to use those forms from those entities. And they haven't. And then once they've done that, they then
Sure.
they then
And
template all of them and make sure that they kind of work so that it's all seamless. And then they give the access to them for us.
Okay, and should I wait for this question? Because I've been having this problem lately with DocuSign, where when you go in and you get it all together, you click the little boxes and now you click next, and now you're going to, tag them for signatures and initials and things. Inevitably, one of those pages comes up blank, even though it says it's been uploaded prior to me clicking next. I clicked on it to preview it. It's showing everything is uploaded. The minute I click next.
You're saying on the envelopes?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I could do that.
I
fill it
have
all
seen
out.
that. I have seen that, Lisa, and it's an unusual bug. I have seen that. You're not the only person I've seen that with. It's honestly, it's just kind of a bug in the system, and I'm not sure why it happens. And it's not really, unfortunately, I don't really have a good answer for you. What I would say is if you're creating documents in the Documents tab, all right, and then creating envelopes, and the information that you're putting into the document in the Documents tab is not showing up in the envelope, you have a couple options. The first is
it does show up in the envelope, and then I click on it to make sure there's something there, and it comes up. So then I close it and I click through to make sure all the forms are there. And then once everything is filled out on this page, the notes, the emails, all of this, and you go to click next, inevitably it's either one page of the residential disclosure, and this weekend it was the first page of the offer out of the 2 pages. Which of course, it renders the whole system useless if you don't have one page of the disclosure or the front.
So
page of the
Lisa,
offer.
just let me ask so I'm understanding correctly. So once you're getting to this point where you're adding signatures,
Yep.
you're saying some of this information like this or this, like that
Oh,
you've
no,
inputted,
the entire page is blank.
like this whole page is just
That
blank.
whole page would be blank.
All right, that has to be a bug that's happening with the website itself, where something's not loading properly. And if that's the case, what I would say is just save and close, clear your cookies, and then reload the page.
Okay.
because that's just like a bug that's happening with the website itself in your computer.
It's just started the last few times I've put in offers, and it takes me upwards to 45 minutes to an
Yep.
hour.
So
to try
that's,
to-
yeah, that's not really that doesn't sound like it's not a system issue like with DocuSign itself. It's a web issue, where things aren't like where the code is just not loading properly. So what I would say is save and close your envelope. All right, clear cookies, and then refresh the page, and then go back into it, and that'll probably be your best bet.
Okay, and
Okay.
on a Mac, where do you go to clear your cookies on your laptop?
I'm not sharing my whole screen with you. I'm only sharing my my
Yeah,
thing, so
mean,
I
I
can't.
just didn't know, do you go to file or do you go to?
No, so if you're using Google Chrome, you just click on Chrome in the upper left-hand corner, and then
Yeah.
there's a button that says clear browsing data,
Okay,
and you click on that, and then let's see, what's the next thing? All right, so and then it opens up this site. Are you seeing the settings page that I'm showing right now?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and then you just hit clear data. I'm not going to do that because that might screw up what we're doing
no,
in
of course,
DocuSign.
no.
All right,
yeah,
and
I've
you
done
just hit
that
clear
before,
data.
I just didn't remember it.
So
Yeah.
guys, I'm just gonna make one suggestion. I don't know if this might be the problem, but Lisa, I would just check to see if like if you have it set for buyer number 1 to check those boxes, and you're looking at it as agent before the buyer has checked those buyer boxes might not be showing.
Oh, no, it's not even the buyer boxes. The entire page is blank
Oh, okay.
before
Yeah,
I
so she-
even can check those boxes.
Okay, then never
Yeah.
mind. Sorry, just
Yeah.
a suggestion.
But I'll tell you what I
Yep.
did have to do, and this is weird. So I went and took the offer, I removed the offer, deleted that. After I did that numerous times, then I went back, I scanned it, I scanned the offer 2 separate times as page 1 and page 2. Ran it through that way, then the first page of the offer would actually come up, and then I could go to tag it for SIGs and initials, but not if I ran those, and not if I scanned those 2 pages together so they were a combined PDF.
That's interesting because if again, that's why I feel like it's got to be. It's just like it's just an issue with the website not loading properly. Because if you're scanning PDFs and then adding those documents like from your computer,
Yep.
DocuSign to just add signatures, there's no reason why they shouldn't show up. Like that's not even a DocuSign issue. That's
Oh, yeah,
just
and
like a
preliminary,
bug.
they're showing
Oh.
now. It's only
All right.
after I hit that next button,
Yeah.
that to
Yep.
put the tabs.
All right, one last thing I want to show you all before we get going, which is, and I'm going to back out of here and go back to rooms. So now that I'm going to go to a room where a little test room that I created and just signed all the created random stuff to sign. Once you have your actual documents created, now all you need to do is your documents folder is going to look a little different now. And this is going to kind of answer part of your question, Jen, right? So if you've if you've created kind of custom versions of the documents and sent them for signatures, you don't have to delete the documents and then re-add them to the room. Let's say I made a mistake or I need to change something on, say, the lead disclosure, right? And it's already been signed, or that one I haven't actually sent for signature yet, right? But let's say I need to change something on the exclusive right to sell listing contract, or the listing's expired, and so I'm going to sign a new contract with new dates. I can just click on this document, and I'm able to edit this document and again, and it won't have any impact or effect on the already signed document.
Yeah, I realized that last week, finally.
Yeah. All right. So you don't need to delete everything. If you've already used it, signed it, gotten it sent, those documents are safe. And those are all the documents you're seeing here with these little green check marks. All right. So now I'm ready to send this over to Concierge Services. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the documents that I need. I don't need wiring scan yet because that's for later. But I need the property inclusion exclusion. I need the data input. I need the exclusive right to sell. I need the agency disclosure, and I need the lead disclosure. All right. And what I'm going to do is I've selected all these documents. What I'm going to do now is there's a button here right in the middle that's called combine. And so I'm going to hit the combine button and I'm going to create a new document, and I'm going to say listing docs for concierge. All right. And these are, and what this is going to do is it's going to take all those documents that I had. All right. And I can order them in whichever way I want. Okay. By just clicking on them and dragging them. And then I click save. And what DocuSign is going to do is it's now going to create a new document for me. Again, all the individual documents are still there. So so I still have my agency disclosure. I still have my lead disclosure. All right. But now what I have is a single PDF that's called listings docs for concierge that has all of those documents combined into one PDF. And now what I can do is I can click this box here. Again, select that document. And if I come up to the top, I can download it or I can email it directly from DocuSign. And so if I need to send that to concierge, all I have to do is put in the kw203ct@gmail.com. Please review the attached documents for 123 Main Street. All right, and then hit send. I'm not going to hit send because I'm not going to like freak Skylar and Maria out by sending them a random documents, right? And what this will do is this will now email them from your KW email address all the documents that the documents for your listing concierge.
Dan.
Yes.
So here's where I'm confused. Rick just showed us all that like PDF stuff.
Yep.
But didn't you just now do the exact same thing through DocuSign?
I absolutely did.
Oh, okay. I guess I'm not confused anymore.
Yep. No, so this is, there's, every agent kind of does things differently, and sometimes agents do things differently depending on the transaction, right? So, for some sellers, you might actually bring the paperwork to their house, fill it all out with them, have them sign it right there on the spot. Well, now you have different documents, and you might not want all those documents in one PDF. You might want to have each document separate for your own files, but you need a single PDF to send for concierge services. So you have a couple options on how you do that. You could scan every single document together in one packet, right? And have that on your computer and then just email that one document to concierge services, right? And be done. And then if you wanted to split that up, you could use I Love PDF to now split that document, right? Rick showed you how to do that, where you can split that document into different documents, right? Or if you wanted all of the documents separate, you could scan them all separately.
But can't you split documents in DocuSign too?
I actually don't know. I've never, let me look at that real quick.
I believe
my guess is that you can.
I remember doing it several times.
So I'm going to take this document here. No, it doesn't allow me to split it, or at least there's not an option to. It's only combine.
Okay.
Is what I'm seeing in DocuSign. So there are other ways of doing it too. We just wanted to give you some options. So if you're getting wet signatures, right? If you're getting physical pieces of paper signed, you now have a tool that you can use to combine those PDFs into one in order to email them to kw203ct@gmail.com for your concierge services. All right, so you don't have to deal with command, right? But if you still want to use electronic signatures, I just showed you a way where you can cut out all of the command work, right? How you can template your document so that you don't have to fill out all of the same stuff every single time. All right. And then how you can then take all of those documents once they're signed and combine them into a PDF and then email them directly to concierge from DocuSign. So you don't have to worry about downloading them and then attaching them to an email and things like that. All right, so overall, did we learn a couple things that could help save us a little bit of time here and there?
Yes. Dan, do you have a minute to troubleshoot something for me?
I can try.
Okay, so when I thank you, that was helpful. I find that when I have a tenant who I'm submitting an application for, if there's more than 2 tenants, like a co-signer, or I need a third tenant application, for some reason, it's not taking it in the envelope. It's hard. And sometimes, like, I jiggle around and sometimes I figure out how to do it, how to get several. Once you download the form, it's hard to have a second form or a third form do the same thing with a second client.
Yeah, that's where you need to kind of trick DocuSign a little bit. So what you need to do is, and I'm not going to show it to you just because I don't have the form and it would require me having to send for signatures and actually do that stuff, right? But what you can do is, if you need more signatures on a form than DocuSign allows for, which is normally 2, right? Like DocuSign doesn't really allow for more than 2 signatures on a form. The easiest way of doing it is to create the form, put the 2 people on it, send it for signatures. Once you have the signed version of it now, download that
And drop
signed
the third
version,
signature box.
download it, and then add it back to the room as a new PDF.
Yeah.
Add it to another envelope and then send it, and then add the additional signatures.
Got it. That's not.
It's
the
not.
issue.
It's not an easy process. It's just kind of a pain.
So that's not the issue. The issue that I'm having is we don't have, like, in our rental application, I have, let's say Jody Boxer, I'm renting something. The application goes to Jody Boxer. If I'm renting something with Richard Boxer, he has to fill out a separate rental application. It doesn't give me the option, Jody's income, Jody's employment history.
I
Richard's
see what
income,
you're
Richard
saying.
employment. So I have to send that form to 2 different people.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to send it to a third person, and I'm having a hard time uploading that form several times and having it come up.
That's what I
Yeah.
have.
So the simple solution to that is to use a different rental application and not the standard rental application. That's the simple version. Now, the question is, well, I don't have one, Dan. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share with you my rental application, which allows for 2 people, because it's a common issue that I've also run into. I just need to find the right one, and I'll just drop it into the chat so you can download it right from there.
Dan,
Okay,
does
this should be fine.
Smart MLS offer a 2-person rental application?
I am not sure. Oops, I think I just sent that. What did I just do? All right, it's being weird. Sorry, because of where it was on my screen, it got messed up. So this is not a KW approved rental application, but here's the thing is, like, the other side of it too is your landlord should really have this is kind of a landlord document more than it is an agent document, because like, if you're a landlord that's selling that's doing stuff, you should really be getting these forms from them, because it's like, well, what information do you want to receive about the tenants that are applying for your home? I know Jody's kind of giving me a look like, really, Dan? And I'm like, yeah, I get it, right? A lot of the times you're working with a landlord that has no idea how to be a landlord. They don't have any of these stuff, but that's our opportunity to really kind of say, listen, here's a rental application. I'd like for you to look at it, right? That's why I just gave you the Word document version of it.
I didn't see it. Hold on.
It's in the chat as a file, and you can just
Did anybody else get it? I don't see it in my chat box.
I got it.
Yes, I saw it. I downloaded it.
Huh?
If you click the 3 dots, are you on your phone, Jody?
No, well, I'm on my iPad. And
So
it's got the chat box, but the
yeah,
last chat.
it doesn't tend to work. So what I'll do is I'll just email it to you afterward.
Thank you.
All
I
right.
appreciate that.
Um,
Got it.
Yeah,
No,
but
and I
like,
appreciate what you're saying about the landlord. It's just that, like, I have tenants who want to, because things are going so quickly, they want one application that they could send to 2
Yep.
or 3 different places.
Sure.
And our KW form is not great.
Doesn't really allow, like, doesn't really have a good version of that.
No, look, it's not written very well. Like, it says, like, your work, who's your supervisor, and salary. It looks like you're trying to fill out your supervisor's salary, not your own. Like, it's an awkward document, and then it only allows for one applicant. So if I have 2 applicants, anyway.
Well, I usually send 2 forms to two tenants, or 3 separate forms to my 3 tenants.
So another option could also be, no, actually the car version doesn't even really have a spot for additional
That's just an awkward, it's one of those awkward things.
applications. Yeah, I mean, so I was just looking through our forms while, real quick, just to kind of see what we had. But the car version doesn't really have what you said. It has space for additional occupants, but not
Yeah.
additional applications. That's why, as a landlord, I just kind of created my own.
Okay, all right, brilliant one.
Yeah,
You
I'll
don't-
talk to Rick
you don't-
about that. It's not a bad idea though.
I think we do need to look over our document because it's really poorly written.
Let's see. I want to find the one. I'm in the 612 file right now, so let me look at it real quick. Yeah, also like our residential lease is kind of odd, I think, as well.
Okay,
Let me- Yeah, let me talk to Rick. I know, like, so Rick and I have had conversations about some of the forms that we are using, either the MLS versions or a car version or a generic or whatever, and kind of going through those forms and having our own branded KW forms. So I know that is something that he's been thinking about and working on. I'll just make sure I'll mention the rental application form to him as well.
thank you.
All right.
All
You're
right,
welcome.
thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Dan, I have a question.
Oh, yep. Who's
I
that?
had a listing last year
Sure.
and that was expired. Now the seller wanted to relist. So can I update the same room for the same option? It's called relist. So
Sure.
it will create a new room or how it will be?
No, so you could actually use the same room and just create new versions of the documents. What you might want to do, and I think I may have just closed my screen. Let me look real quick. Yeah, I did.
Can you share your screen?
Yeah, I just need to go back into DocuSign.
Okay.
So because I closed my DocuSign screen. Give me 1 second here. Sorry, so now
No problem.
shoot, what time is it? 3:24 already. Sorry, I'm just waiting for this stuff to I gotta get through DocuSign to back to where I can show you what this does. Yeah, and thank you for everybody else who's here. If you want to leave, feel free. I'm also going to stop recording just because this has nothing to do with